Breaking news. Ross Dellenger, Yahoo Sports. The American Athletic Conference becomes the first conference to set a minimum standard of benefits going to their student athletes. And if a school in the conference doesn't meet the standards, then their membership could be under review in just a short few years from now. Welcome to episode 425 of College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel, smash the like button if you like our content, share the video with your family and friends. Let's not waste any more time. Ross Dellenger, the American Athletic Conference, becomes the first league to set minimum standard revenue share of $10 million. The AAC approved an initiative on Friday, today, to establish a minimum standard of benefits that schools are required to share with athletes in the new revenue sharing era of college sports, becoming the first NCAA conference to make such a move. As part of this minimum investment program, schools must share with athletes at least $10 million in cumulative additional benefits over a 3-year period starting with the 25-26 academic year. That's now. That is July 1st, 2025. July 1st to June 30th of 26 is the academic year. A concept driven by Commissioner Tim Pernetti, and one he describes as an important moment for the conference. He told Yahoo Sports in an interview Friday when reached to comment on the league's decision. Schools can reach the required $10 million figure through a combination of benefits now available to them through the settlement of the House antitrust lawsuit. This settlement, if approved later this spring, will permit schools to offer scholarships to entire rosters and separately share a projected maximum $20.5 million annually with their athletes through directive revenue sharing. As part of the Americans Minimum Investment Program, schools can include in additional benefits: 1, up to $2.5 million in new scholarships, and 2, direct revenue that they share with the athletes, as well as number 3, up to $2.5 million in Alston payments, a stipend that some schools have been distributing to their athletes. So 1 and 3 equals 5, right? $5 million. Up to $2.5 million in new scholarships, up to $2.5 million in Alston payments, but the majority of that $10 million, the majority of the $10 million is going to be through rev share with the athletes. So you better believe all the AAC schools are going to opt in to the House settlement, and they got to dish out at least $5 million in a 3-year period when it comes to rev share to their student athletes. This action is another indication of at least $5 million, I should say. This action is another indication for how the American differentiates itself from its peers. We are committed to differentiating the American in every way we can, and we are committed to delivering an unrivaled experience for student athletes and positioning our members in the best place for the future of college athletics. Schools that fail to meet the $10 million, this is the PATC money shot of the article. Schools that fail to meet the $10 million standard at the conclusion of the 27-28 academic year could be subject to review of their membership status within the conference, Pernetti said. The minimum investment thresholds will not apply to 2 members, Army and Navy, which are federally funded service academies that are prohibited from opting into the settlement. The conference chose the figure and time frame, $10 million over 3 years, after a comprehensive review of the league from the Huron Consulting Group. The group proposed its recommendations, and they were shared with administrators in an in-person meeting in January before the College Football Playoff National Championship game. The conference will not police how each school distributes the minimum requirement. The schools have the autonomy, the flexibility over distribution. Pernetti stressed that the program is only a minimum and that many of the schools within his conference plan to exceed the 10 million mark. While he declined to reveal the presidential vote on Friday, he said the program received overwhelming support. The program is a resolution that has been formally adopted as part of the league's bylaws. The conference plans an annual review of the program. Pernetti says, and there will be annual process for schools to report their figures as part of the program. Continuing our commitment to innovation and student-athlete experience, the American and its member institutions are dedicated to providing academic and athletic excellence, said Philip Rogers, Chancellor of East Carolina and Chair of the League's Board of Directors, in a statement to Yahoo Sports. As the first conference to collectively opt into a revenue-sharing model with a minimum requirement, we position ourselves as student-athletes to compete at the highest levels and illustrate the strength and differentiation of this conference. In a new era where schools will be able to directly compensate athletes, officials believe the move positions the American to better compete with the power leagues despite the financial gap between the two groups. For the 6 other conferences, the American, Pac-12, Mountain West, Conference USA, MAC, Sunbelt, the finances are made much more difficult because of the less valuable television contracts, lower ticket sales, and smaller sponsorship numbers. Most athletic departments in those leagues are heavily subsidized by their universities to the tune as much as 60%. For years, however, the American has worked to maneuver itself into the conversation with the power leagues. Over the last decade, the league claimed key football victories over power conference programs, a successful run that saw some of the top resource institutions get promoted to the Big 12 and the AAC. A couple of things come to my mind. Please put down your comments and thoughts in the comment section below the video and let me know what you think of this breaking news. Ross Dellenger, Yahoo Sports. Number one, again, the American Athletic Conference is looking out for themselves. They're trying to differentiate themselves from the other G5 conferences, right? That's what they're doing. They're saying, look what we have done. We're the first one out of the gates. We are putting in a floor, a minimum standard of these institutions, not Army and Navy, but the other ones, benefits to their student athletes at least $10 million in a 3-year period. Are we going to see some other G5 conferences come out and try to match that minimum? That is going to be a very telling story. Also, the American Athletic Conference, there's going to be schools in that conference that are going to go way over the minimum. Way over the minimum. It's not going to be a problem. It's not going to be an issue. It's not going to be a problem for Memphis. Just one example. But it was important for Tim Pernetti to put a decent floor, because again, the conference, the strength of the conference is not only based upon the top schools in the conference. It's also based on the middle and the bottom of the conference. You do not want some of those schools to not invest. You don't want some of those schools, those athletic departments, to wither and die. You want to put a minimum standard for the health of the entire conference. AAC, the first one out of the gates. Do you think another G5 conference is going to match that minimum benefit standard for their student athletes over the next 3 years of $10 million? Do you think a Sunbelt will? Conference USA, I don't think so. MAC, most definitely not. The Mountain West Conference, are they going to dip into a little bit of private capital type of deal to make that happen? We shall see. And what about the Pac-12? The Pac-12 has got to get they got to get another program, another institution into that conference. And then we'll see if they match that minimum. I think they will. But again, the ACC making it a priority to get this out on a Friday and saying, look, we are just a little bit different than all these other G5, G6's conferences. We are different. We are above them. Student athletes, we are above them. Media company, media partners, we are above these other conferences. We are just a little bit different. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.